It's a divisional showdown back in the Dome as the Saints play host to the Tampa Bay Bucs. Always an intense matchup. This one means a little more. With rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler making his NFL debut, New Orleans is looking to get back in the division race and back in the win column. Grab an extra cup of coffee or some voodoo juice. It is time to turn things all the way up for another Superdome Sunday. Welcome into Saints Gameday Live on NewOrleansSaints.com alongside our senior Saints writer, John DeShazier. I'm Erin Summers. It is Saints Bucs, an NFC South showdown. Bucs, they're 3-2. A win by the Saints gets them back in that race. They will be better than at least third, so first or second, depending on what happens with the Falcons later today as well. This one comes down to the quarterback position. It has been something that's talked about all week. Quarterback Derek Carr for the Saints injured in the last game. He is out with an oblique injury. It is time for quarterback Spencer Rattler to step in. JD, what have you seen, heard, all practice about how the team's responding to Rattler stepping in?
Well, first off, folks, you asked for this. You wanted Spencer Rattler, so now you're going to get him today, and hopefully he'll show up big. But what you hear from the team is the swagger. He carries himself with a certain attitude, not arrogance, but confidence. The team sees that, and his teammates play off that. And that's what he's going to have. Everybody in the NFL has some level of confidence, otherwise they wouldn't be here. He plays quarterback, so he really needs to have it in spades. And hopefully he has it in spades today. But one of the things we've seen is his teammates responded to him in training camp. They responded to him in OTAs and all those other practices. And so hopefully they'll respond to him in this game, and they really have to because he needs the help. He's a rookie quarterback. He's going to need a good running game. He's going to need a good defensive effort. He's going to need all of that because you can't put the game on his shoulders as a rookie in his first start.
What can the Saints do offensively to help him be successful?
Run the ball. You've got to run the ball better, especially than you did against against Kansas City. But you have to be able to run the football effectively. That will take a ton of pressure off. Now, of course, Tampa Bay knows that, so they're going to try to stop the run and put the ball in Spencer Rattler's hands. When he does have to throw it, you need a little bit more production, not necessarily out of Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, but out of the tight end position. They got to get somebody else involved in the offense besides those two and Alvin Kamara. Hopefully it will be the tight ends. That's Jawan Johnson, and then that's Foster Moreau. Foster Moreau has a couple of touchdown catches this season, so hopefully those guys can blend into the offense. Alvin
Kamara is averaging 22.8 carries per game. That is the highest in his career. He is on pace for over 2,000 yards. That is just a lot for him to carry. So yes, we need some other guys to step up in this one. Offensive line, however, a couple injuries there for the third straight week. The Saints will start a new center. What does the offensive line have to do up front?
Those guys hopefully have been able to sync in practice because they've had so many bodies going in and out. Connor McGovern is a veteran center, though, so he has that working for him. You have him. You have now Landon Young at right guard. He's been in the lineup for a few weeks now. And then at left guard, you have Nick Saldiveri. This will be his second start. So hopefully those three guys especially can blend in and have their chemistry working. We know the two tackles have played pretty well this season. So hopefully the interior is able to hold up because that interior gave a lot of pressure last week against Kansas City, and you don't need that pressure up the middle against the rookie quarterback.
52% was that quarterback pressure allowed against Kansas City. The Bucs, they've had 10 sacks in just the last two games, and they get defensive tackle Kalijah Kancey back. He was the 19th overall pick in 2023, so they're going to be ramped up a little bit on that defensive front. JD, you were able to talk to head coach Dennis Allen coming into this one about what the Saints can do to help quarterback Spencer Rattler. Let's take a listen.
Coach Spencer Rattler making his first NFL start. Just what were some of the things that you've seen about him that made him the right guy for this moment?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think he's come in and done a really good job in practice. You know, he works against the defense all week long, and he does a good job of executing the scout team offense. I think his ability to improvise, his ability to make plays off schedule, I think that's something that we can use in the situation that we're in right now. And look, we've always felt really good about the player, and we just feel like this guy gives us the best chance to win right now.
You know, we spoke to offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak yesterday. He said he didn't really feel like guys needed to pare down the playbook for him. Do you have to do anything special for him?
Look, I think we just got to put him in position to be successful, and I think that's really what it's all about. You know, and a lot of people are going to make a lot about Spencer Rattler, but you know, this is a team game, and so it's going to take not just the other 10 guys that are out there on offense, but the defense has to step up, the special teams has to step up. So that's really what you have to do when you have guys go down and other guys have to step in. The guys around them have to help them be better.
You know, with that said, how critical is it to get the run game back on track to help him out and help out the offense?
Yeah, look, we'd love to be able to get the run game going. I think that's really, you know, a key cog in what when we've had success offensively. It's come when we've been able to run the ball and run the ball well.
Now flipping to Tampa, Baker Mayfield has had a really nice start at quarterback, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 72% completions. Just what are some of the things you've seen about him in his decision making and effectiveness?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think he's operating really well. I think he's doing a good job of being decisive, getting the ball out of his hands. They've got some things in the passing game, screens and things like that, where he's able to get the ball out of his hands into the playmaker's hands, and they're doing a good job of, you know, having run after catch. So I think he's playing really well. I think he's also able to create. That's the other thing that he does really well is when the protection breaks down, you know, he's able to escape the pocket and create some plays either with his feet or being able to find receivers down the field.
You know, now this matchup has included its share of chippiness. Is that something you've had to address with the team of, look, we want you to be aggressive, but be smart about it?
Yeah, not really. I mean, we just want to go out there and play our brand of football.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
We know that everybody coming out to the Dome today is excited about the NFL debut of Spencer Rattler. And if you are headed here, make sure you download the Saints app presented by Verizon. We have a lot of new features this year. You can log into NFL.com, your account via the app, switch over to Dome mode so you can have access to all of the important information on how to navigate the Superdome this season. You can also watch highlights of your favorite players throughout the game so you don't miss any big touchdowns from Spencer Rattler or any turnovers forced. It is a must-have for Saints fans this season. And a must-have for the Saints defensively is shut down the Bucs on third down, eliminate some of those explosive plays. Where does the success start defensively for the Saints?
Well, it's going to start up front. Now, Baker Mayfield is having a great season at quarterback for Tampa Bay, but he's been sacked 16 times. Now, he's got 1,100 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, but he's been sacked 16 times. However, he's mobile, 18 carries, 107 yards, and a touchdown that way. But the Saints have to be able to get to him. I mentioned those 16 sacks, but the Saints have 14 sacks. But 2 guys have combined for half of them. That's Brian Brzee and Carl Granderson with a combined 7. So they need a little bit more help, and it can't be from Alontae Taylor, who has 3.5 sacks. He plays cornerback. He's not going to be the guy rushing the passes. So they got to get it from Peyton Turner. They got to be able to get it from Chase Young. They got to get it from Cam Jordan. They got to get it from Nate Shepard. They got to get it from Colin Saunders. They have to get it from those other players and not rely so much on outside help from the linebackers and the cornerbacks. And hopefully they'll be able to get to him because we know what Baker Mayfield can do. He's playing great this season. And, of course, he's throwing to Mike Evans. So, you know, we understand how Mike Evans and Chris Godwin can be as receivers in that offense.
Yeah, the Saints have only had 3 sacks in the past 2 games. That number has to increase. Chris Godwin is going to be going inside in the slot against Alontae Taylor, so he's going to be busy there. Got to come from somebody else. The third down percentages for the Saints have been a lot lower, although they are shutting people down in the red zone, not allowing touchdowns. They're letting teams drive on them. What do they need to do to get them off the field in third down?
Well, they got to be better in situational football. When they get into a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, they got to be able to get off the field. And I mean make a play to get off the field. You can't commit a penalty to give an automatic first down, but you got to be able to make those plays. You got to stay away from those defensive pass interferences and those kinds of things. You have to be able to get out of those plays. And the Saints have to tackle. Dennis Allen's been mentioning that all week. They've been leaky in the area of tackling, especially in open field. They've got to be able to tackle, get off the field, and hopefully put the pressure on the Bucs offense, force that team to punt. You don't want them to be in the red zone as much as the Saints have seen opponents in the red zone. But when you get them in the red zone, you can force a field goal. That's kind of a win. So you want to be able to at least do that if they're moving the football. But you can't rely on that because you kick enough field goals and you can lose the game.
Wild stat here. Cornerback Paulson Adebo has been targeted 52 times this season. Marshawn Lattimore only 9. With the back and forth we've seen between Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans and cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, how do we think that targets are going to be effective as far as lat goes today?
Until Paulson Adebo shows that he can be the stopper and not pick up penalties, people are going to go after him. That's just a fact of the NFL. They find the weak link and they go after him. Now, are the Bucs going to go away from Mike Evans? Of course not. And we know the history that he and Marshawn have. So Marshawn's going to have to be smart and not do anything to get himself a penalty, not do anything to get himself kicked out of this game. But Paulson Adebo is going to be the target until he shows otherwise. And he's got to lift the level of his play. I think he's got seven accepted penalties this season and 2 not accepted. That's a ton. And I understand the Saints play aggressive, and he's going to be aggressive. But he has to be able to be aggressive but clean. Now, speaking of the secondary, of course, Jonathan Abrams made his start last week against Kansas City, and he played last year against these same Tampa Bay Bucs and had one heck of a game down in Tampa. He is the subject of our Player Spotlight presented by Community Coffee, and Erin does the honors with Jonathan Abrams.
Jonathan, it is Bucs week, and that was the game that you absolutely broke out at last season. An interception, forced fumble, pass deflection, and 5 tackles. What do you remember most about that game?
Probably one of my best career games I've had so far in my career. But it was just, ultimately, it was kind of like a prove it to myself, you know, because it was a long year, you know, being on practice squad, just showing myself that I was resilient, you know, and you know, if I just kept my head down and kept working, that, you know, good things were to come. So
this year, again, on practice squad, you get elevated due to injuries. How do you make sure that you are ready for that moment? What do you have to do?
Just kind of preparing the same every single week. You know, you can't really go into it with the mindset of, well, I'm not playing, so let me just kind of half study.
Yeah.
You kind of have to just do it the same. You know, we prepare, like DA says all the time, you know, if you're not up, you should be studying more than the guys who are up, because at any moment's notice, you could be up. And so that's just been my mindset, just trying to make sure I stay ready.
You had a great game, got back out on the field again, 8 tackles. Hopefully we'll see you again on the field here soon. But
hopefully so.
What's been good about, like, what's the feeling when you're able to step back on the field for a game?
Just being out there with my guys, you know, because we have a really great room, the DB room. So, you know, me and those guys, we're a very close group. And so, you know, just talking with them, you know, because they all want me up. And so when I get that chance and I get that opportunity, you know, it's kind of like a party. So we try to make the most of it.
You've been doing some hospital visits lately, and there's a really cool story that came out this past week of a certain patient that you met with.
Cecilio.
Tell me about that interaction.
So kind of what happened was we went to basically Oshner, and we were meeting a couple of the kids, and, you know, so I just started playing with the kid, and, you know, just hearing his story. His mom then was like, you know, basically the day we were there was his last day of chemo. And so he was getting ready to ring the bell, and he was telling me about his birthday and all of those things. And he was like, for my birthday, I really want me a Spider-Man bike. And so I was just like, when his ringing day comes up, I'm going to buy him a Spider-Man bike. And so I made it a point of emphasis. I made sure I communicated with everybody and just made sure I got him a bike, because, you know, he's been through a lot, him and that family. And so I just wanted to do something good for them, you know, try to put a smile on their face. And, you know, his mom, she was super, super ecstatic.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. I love the video of you riding in on the bike. And
they didn't think I could do it.
So big.
They didn't think I could do it. I'm like, because I got a little girl, and I'm like, let me show you, got to spread the knees so you don't hit the handlebars.
You got the technique down on the bike riding and on the field. What is the one thing that it's going to take for the defense to do this weekend against the Bucs?
We just have to do a better job of just being ourselves, you know, going out there, you know, because it's not about who we line up against. You know, we can't beat ourselves, you know, and that's what we've done the past few weeks. We've allowed teams to go out and convert on 3rd down, convert during 2-minute situations. We just have to go be ourselves and not do uncharacteristic things, and, you know, just execute. If we do that, the rest will take care of itself.
All right. This has been What's Brewing with Jonathan Abram. What a really cool moment by Jonathan Abram. The players often attend Oshner and spend a lot of time with the children there. And it's very fitting, as this is our crucial catch game. Really important to everybody here at the Saints, and make sure that you get checked. We don't want anybody to go without knowledge of something that need to get tested or affected or treatment for. So really happy to see that by Abram. That was really awesome there. And I don't know, there's a lot of special things happening today, but we could really use a big special moment on special teams, because this game could be a pretty close one.
Yeah, and close games generally come down to special teams. We know Blake Grupe has made all 8 of his field goal attempts this season. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that. I'd love to see a blowout, but if it does, he's accurate here in the Superdome. But the Saints need something sparking them on special teams. I don't know if that's going to be a big return, if that's going to be a block punt. Whatever it is, they need a spark from that unit. They need them to be a little bit more than solid. They've been solid, but they need something because, again, when you're talking about starting a rookie quarterback, he needs help from every phase of the game. And hopefully the special teams can give him a little something to work with today, to give him a short field or something.
As far as Grupe goes, he is 8 for 8 in field goals. He's just missed 2 extra points, however. So that's the area that he's been a little shaky in. Got to shore that up today. Let's take a look at our inactives and see who is in and out for this one. Earlier, we did mention that there is obviously no quarterback Derek Carr, and there is no left guard Lucas Patrick on the offensive line. Still moving some pieces in there. We will be without Taysom Hill, Pete Werner, Kendre Miller, who was activated off of injured reserve, however, will be out for this one, and then Christian Boyd, defensive tackle, also a healthy scratch. On the other side, however, the Bucs, they had a lot of extra time because they played last Thursday, and it didn't help them as much. A couple wide receivers out for them, and Cam Johnson, Trey Palmer, and then their running back, Rashad White, also out. So some playmakers down for the Bucs.
Yeah, and both teams, again, missing some playmakers, as you mentioned, but the Saints missing a lot more, it feels like. And it goes on and on this season. Hopefully, they'll be able to compensate for those guys. You're always talking about the next man up. They're always talking about the next man up. The next man's going to have to really be up in this game because this is a tough opponent. Yeah,
well, we appreciate all of you. There was a donation drive today. We encouraged fans to bring any supplies that they could to help out with Hurricane Milton, the Tampa Bay area. We know how hard it is to have to go through hurricanes. Obviously happen way too many times here in New Orleans. So any help that you couldn't provide for anyone in the area there in Florida that's been affected is much appreciated. And a big shout out to the Saints for setting that up for the Tampa Bay fans. All right, this is all going to happen very soon, 12 o'clock on Fox as the Saints host Tampa Bay. We're looking for a win. It is a short week, and it's only going to get shorter as the Saints have Denver right back here on Thursday. This win is so important to get things right heading into that short week.
Hey, you lost 3 straight. You need to get back on the right track. Rookie quarterback or not, this team needs a win because it needs to get back on the right track. This will get them into second place. Well, get them into second place solid because even if everybody has a 3-3 record, but they've beaten Tampa head-to-head, even though they've lost to Atlanta head-to-head, so they can't leapfrog Atlanta, but still, getting a win and breaking a 3-game losing streak at this point in the season is humongous.
All right, for John DeShazier, I'm Erin Summers. It is Spencer Rattler time right here in the Superdome. We'll be back right here with the post-game show on NewOrleansSaints.com. Enjoy the game.